But I think we'll go through first and just do brief introductions to everyone before we let Larry take it away. So we'll just go through, say our name and our company or where we work. And I guess if there's anything you're really excited to learn about today from Larry, you can add that in too. So I'll start. So my name's Rachel, and I'm the marketing and events coordinator at Startup Zone. We're doing these marketing webinars every Wednesday, and I'm just really excited to hear Larry's perspective as our second guest for the marketing webinar. And Steph's here too. She was our guest last week. So it's nice to hear insights from everyone. We've got a lot of interesting people in our community. And then we'll just kind of go through. I'll go in the order that I see in my screen here right now. So Wendy, if you want to go next.
Sure. Wendy McIntyre and my lovely office assistant, Bon, will be 19 on Mother's Day. I always have to say how old he is. So I'm a human resources consultant. I think I know most people. Human resources consultant. I own my own business, Resolve HR, work alone. What I want to get out of today is I've tried doing an online training program before and it failed miserably. So I guess I just want to learn some more about how to get good outreach and see that turn into something. So let's do it.
Thanks, Wendy. Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Hayden. I'm one of the in-house experts and also part of the team that's supporting the Accelerator program. And sales and marketing go hand in hand, so always good to get to connected with the marketing side of things, the sales side of the discussion. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Awesome. Lisa and Larry will actually be on an event together next week. You'll see promotions for that soon, but I'm really looking forward to that. Clark, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi. Actually, I had a wonderful session with Larry. I think it was that last week, and have been delving into what his suggestions and particularly the books that he recommended reading. So he's helped me now greatly change my morning routine from reading very toxic Twitter feeds and news to far more enlightening reading about branding and particularly about the origins of Nike. So I am also a product specialist at the Startup Zone, and my field is experience design. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the session, but I haven't given a lot of thought as to what I hope to get out of it, other than general information.
Thank you, Clark. Steph?
Hey, I'm Steph with Summer Street Creative. I am also one of the specialists. I'm mostly just here to see your perspective, Larry, just because I know we're in the same kind of field and I always like to learn new things. So I just kind of want to get other perspectives and yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Sparrow?
Hello, I'm Sparrow. I have a resident company at Startup Zone called ShopSpotter. And I'm just here to learn. I'm assuming I missed the question, but what we're here for, just to learn some more, really.
Yeah, for anyone who did just join in for the introductions, we're just introducing ourselves, what our company is or where we work. And then if there's anything you're really excited to learn from Larry today, we'll add that in as well. But thank you, Sparrow. Erin?
Hi, sorry, I'm late. Hi, I'm Erin Rober. I'm the operations manager here at the Startup Zone, and I'm just here to hear from Larry and what's going on with him.
Awesome. Tamer?
Hey, my name is Tamer. I'm a resident owner company in Startup Zone. The company name is Tamara International. At the moment, I'm working on two projects, actually. First one is creating my own brand for hand sanitizer. So we signed a contract with a manufacturer in China, actually in Hong Kong. And now I'm working with Canada Health Canada to get it approved. It's already FDA approved. And of course, by next week, I really need your help to know how to position this new brand and bring it into Canada. Second project is actually travel tech. And we had to put it on hold for a while because we don't expect to have any travels till the end of the year. So main focus will be on how to sell our own label brand of hand sanitizer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Kelly? Maybe not. We can loop back there. Oh, there you are.
Sorry. Hi, how are you?
Good.
My name is Kelly Sarlos. I have the Dippy Hippie Company, and I guess I'm here to learn whatever I can learn. I have 3 children at home, so I will be on mute for this session.
Thank you, Kelly. Hopefully you and your kids enjoy the session. Vaughn?
Hey folks, Vaughn here. I run a company called Wagon. Basically, we build tools for small-scale farmers and food vendors to help bring their operations online. This is actually great timing for us because we're actually bringing our product to market in the next few weeks and onboarding vendors to start testing out our online platform. So I felt it was quite relevant to jump into the call, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Pat Farrar?
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Patrick Farrar here, CEO of the Startup Zone. Just looking forward to the session. I mean, brand positioning right now is important just as much as it was before, but it's constantly shifting. You know, that consistency and what that looks like long term, I think will be really valuable. So just looking forward to it.
Awesome. Pat Sebastian?
Hey, you caught me with a bite of food in my mouth. So I'm Pat Sebastian. I run Sebastian Business Development. Basically just a growth consultant at the Startup Zone. I am a growth coach and help out the resident companies. I didn't catch what we were supposed to say, but I'm going to say what I'm hoping to get at it today. Seems like the margin of error for that is allowable for your branding right now is really small. Like it seems like it's a tight game. So because of what's going on. So I'm echoing, Mr. Farrar's statement, here to learn more about that.
Awesome. We have 2 more here. Catherine? Oh, I'll unmute you. Oh, there you
go. No, I have myself muted. The same thing. I've got 2 kids here that are going to show up anytime, and I'm just finishing up a cake. I am Catherine Bryson, Bryson Family Farm and Bakery. I guess what I'm wanting to get out of this, I was kind of talking to Pat about it yesterday, is just reaching like people that I might not have necessarily been marketing to before all this. So yeah, just here to listen.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Jessica.
Hello, sorry I was on mute as well. I have doggies in the background that like to talk when I talk. I'm co-owner of Maritime Marzipan and Fritz Chocolates. I'm more so here to get to know Larry because I was planning to reach out anyway. We are planning to undertake a branding exercise for our company and brand this year. So it's not directly related to the pandemic, but I thought I'll hop on here and get to know you and then reach out.
Great. Excellent. Great. Thanks very much, Rachel, and thanks everyone for introductions. It's great to meet you all, and happy Earth Day to everybody. So it's great to hear some of the things that you do, and look forward to learning more about your businesses. And great to hear about some of the things that you'd like to learn today. And I hope I'll be able to deliver on that. I call myself a brand coach, and the reason I use that terminology is because I feel that the best brands are known, understood, and lived inside organizations. So it's important for founders and those who are working in the company to understand it and create it, because if that's done really well, if people have a really great understanding of that, then it's going to be much stronger on the outside when you start marketing and you start developing product and developing experiences for customers. If you're all on the same page, then that is a really really great advantage and great strategic advantage for your company. So I work with founders and I work with leadership teams in companies to help them understand their brand and how they can bring that to life in their product and in their service and in their experience and in their external marketing as well. And so I've worked with a range of brands. I've worked in automotive, beverage alcohol. I've worked in education, B2B, and healthcare. And I've also worked with startups throughout my career, most concentrated in working with startups probably in the last 5 years. And I've done quite a bit of work with Volta and now just getting introduced to Startup Zone. So looking forward to that. So that's just a little bit about my my background. Based on my approach and my experience, I tend to be invited into a range of strategic conversations with clients, whether it's strategic planning or brand strategy, marketing strategy. Those are the things that I tend to focus on. So when COVID-19 happened and I was sort of, in conversations with Startup Zone, I offered this presentation up as something that would be an opportunity to bring the community together. And so it fits in with your marketing series and great to be able to offer this up today. So one of the framings for this presentation that I think is important is that I think of some of this work, such as brand strategy, as working on your business, and I think for a lot of you that you're on a day-to-day basis pre-pandemic, you're in the business, you're creating product, you're selling, you're doing all of those things, and working around the clock to do that. At a time like this, there are companies like Tamar, who are responding to the challenge and developing new products. So you're deep right now in doing that. But others, it's a bit of a time to step back, and I think that that's a good time to think about your strategy and get yourself ready so that when the pandemic is over, you're able to kind of go to market with full force and be successful. So I think that what I share with you today is going to enable you to do some of that thinking and prepare for what's to come. So I guess I should just pull up the presentation. And okay, so hopefully everybody can see that. So I've titled the presentation, Brand Positioning is Your Brand Positioned for Success. And I've found that in working with startups in particular, that there are some brand concepts that are well understood, and then there are some that are not so well understood. So my intention is really to help to help you to think about some of the key criteria that you need to think about in positioning your brand for success. So one of the first things I want to do is just establish the difference between brand and branding, and so this is something that the terminology we use these two words interchangeably quite often, and I think it's important to establish the difference between the two. So the word brand is really the core asset that you have in your business. It's connected to your value proposition. It's connected to your mission as an organization. It is the thing that defines who is your target, what's your context, what is the benefit that you're offering to consumers, and how do you go about doing that. And if you think about companies that we often talk about companies that are sold or acquired. We read about that all the time, and and often the value of that company is associated with the brand. Like, how much is that company worth? What's the intangible value based on its reputation and based on the value that it's offering, perceived as offering to consumers? Branding, on the other hand, is the manifestations of the brand, or the external facing components of a brand. So that's the logo, it's your tagline, it's your advertising, it's those other symbols that people come to recognize as being associated with the brand. So important to have the brand foundation established, and then important that the branding is aligned with that, and you know, that a strong brand platform gives you a really great launching pad to do all that branding work. So both critically important and interrelated, but important that that first part is done before the second is done. Otherwise, you'll run into challenges, particularly in your sales messaging and some of your marketing messaging. There's a couple of other brand concepts that I'll mention, just because, again, in language, there's often you know, these concepts are mentioned in different contexts. So brand identity is your desired perception. So your position is kind of, brand position is baked into that. Brand image is something that is often talked about, and that's what is the perception, or the actual perception of your brand. And then there's the brand elements, or really branding elements, which are those visual identity components, symbols, and such. Something else, just as a point of clarification, and this is really important for people in the startup community to be thinking about. I find that, you know, there are startups that I meet sometimes that are very focused on their logo or their tagline, and think that you know, is something that is going to be very critical to their success, and that they need to get that right. The reality is that there are multiple stages of a brand, you know, through its lifetime. And you know, first thing a brand needs to do is establish its functional credentials as a product. Once that's established, they can kind of move to the next level, which is establishing more of the personal dimensions and more personality associated with the brand. And then you get to a place which is kind of the place that every brand, every company strives for, which is the territory of brand as symbol. And that's brands like Nike or McDonald's, where all you need to do is see the swoosh, or you see the golden arches, and that's all you need to know. Like, every aspect of the brand is already built into your brain. So seeing that symbol is automatically a symbol of success and or trust and confidence. So a good analogy would be, you know, just looking at a new restaurant, or restaurants as a category. So, you know, imagine on your street that, you know, a new restaurant opened up, and, you know, the first challenge would be, you know, that restaurant needs to establish its functional credentials. People would be wondering, well, what kind of restaurant is that? Is it a fine dining restaurant? Is it a fast food restaurant? Is it a casual dining restaurant? So, you know, what menu is it? Is it good? You know, like you need to establish those basic functional credentials. Over time, as more people go to that restaurant, you start to know the people, you start to know the waiters, the owner, maybe, you know, and you get to know the menu, the music, all those things, and so it takes on a different dimensions that are beyond those functional dimensions, and you know, more personality. And then, you know, every town or city would have a restaurant that's kind of the iconic restaurant. So I don't get to Charlottetown very often, but something like the Gahan House is one that would come to mind for me as a place to go when I'm in Charlottetown. Those of you who are local probably have other places that you would recommend, but those would be examples of brand life stage. So for startups, you know, focusing on establishing your credentials first is critically important. The other dimension that threads through it all is your purpose as a brand, and so, you know, this is something where you know, brand and mission or purpose of an organization is important. And now with so many social purpose brands, you know, it's important that that brands know what is that purpose that's at the core. And so that in some organizations, that is very much even a part of that basic product, right? Like we are about, you know, helping the community, helping the planet, you know, whatever the case might be. And so that is baked into that initial introduction. But a purpose is something that lasts through your lifetime. And that's something that kind of needs to be baked in as well. So the, you know, I mentioned off the top, it's important to align your brand and position it in a way that's aligned with your value proposition. So, you know, the value proposition is the starting point for any startup, and your position is just you know, a way of refining that. You have to take that value and then decide how are you going to bring that to market in a way that differentiates your brand relative to some of the others that that you're competing with. But your value proposition is still very much at the core. So then what is brand positioning? So I would define it as the act of designing a company's offer an image so that it occupies a distinct and valued place in the target customer's mind. There's a book that I've seen a couple of founders at Volta with, and it's called Positioning: How to Be Seen and Heard in the Overcrowded Marketplace. And it's a book by Al Ries and Jack Trout. And this is, it's funny, I kind of chuckled when I saw it because it's a book that was written back in the 1980s. And it's been republished many times, and as you can see, it's called a marketing classic. And so I thought, isn't that curious that is a book that people are reading? And I went back and read it again, and you know, it is a really interesting book in that it's sort of written in the context of that big advertising age, you know, with big ad campaigns and you know, all of those you know, things that you would see, big TV ads and things like that. However, the thinking in the book is really sound, and those concepts are really timeless. And so it's a book that it's a very quick read if people are interested in the subject a little bit more. But what they talk about in that book is what they call the ladders in your head. And there's a chapter 4 that is about the ladders in your head. And they talk about the goal of getting into the human mind and the challenge of doing that. And they talk about the human brain as being like a computer. And every, you know, a computer has a slot or a file folder for everything that is either a project or client related. And so, you know, as it relates to brands, you also have that you know, those categories that are there. And, you know, there are those that are kind of command a lead position, and they use examples like abstract paintings, and where if you had two abstract paintings and you put the name Schwartz under one and Picasso under the other, you would sort of automatically default to choosing which one was the better painting. And there are lots of other contexts where they use those examples. So they sort of talk about how, as humans, like in the human mind, we reject things that don't fit, you know, within our categorizations and within our processing, and we default to things that we know as the best, and we try to simplify everything and put them into boxes and categories. And then they go on to talk about that ladder in your head, or the ladder in the mind, as a way to rank products and brands, and that they sort of talk about that, you know, every product is a step on the ladder, and every category is a different ladder. So there would be an automotive ladder, for example, and each car would be a step on that ladder. And they talk about, you know, how some brands, in order to gain market share, have to dislodge that leading brand from, you know, from its position, and or they have to relate somehow to that company's position. And I think this is an area, again, for startups that can be particularly challenging, because for those of you who are developing completely new technologies, you have to establish a category that people can relate to, or position yourself relative to something that's known. And then for those of you who are in competitive categories, you have to find a way to to position yourself relative to the others in the marketplace in a way that makes you sound relevant to the consumer, and somehow different enough to be pursued, to pursue as an alternative. But often startups get so focused on the value that they're creating that they forget, that, or they don't think through always that there's already something the consumer is using, and so you need to kind of dislodge that behavior or move an existing competitor in order to break through. So that's the challenge of do you start a new category, or do you find a way to sort of reposition things within the existing category? And I've put up a couple of, I use the concept of ladder, but I'll put a couple of ladders up here just to illustrate the point. And so these aren't quite ladders; they're more rows. But in the horizontal format, it probably works best. But if we thought about collaborative software as a category, for example. You've got a brand like Slack, which would really have the pole position, if you will, in this particular race, and so Slack would be regarded as for certain kinds of companies as the leader. And if you think about all these other solutions that are out there and how they compete, moving Slack out of that position would be particularly challenging. So again, it's not going to be the logo or the name that's going to do it. It's going to be what is the value that this brand is able to create, and it's in the way it delivers its services. So Microsoft Teams obviously would be a huge competitor to Slack, and we'll talk a little bit more about how each of those gets positioned. I'll bring this slide back a little bit later. So that would be one example. Another would be the ride-sharing category, and again, Uber being first to market kind of has taken that lead position, and now there are a number of other services that are sort of coming into that category. Lyft being the most successful, but each of those brands needs to find a territory to own, to build a customer base in that particular category. So some would focus more on their drivers, some would focus more on payment, price, those sorts of things, in order to position themselves appropriately in that category. So those are just a couple of examples if we just sort of looked at the ladders of what that would be like. So the other point that is important is just this is the one that I like to reinforce all the time is being distinct and being valued are two dimensions that are really important. So the essence of brand positioning is that the brand has a sustainable competitive advantage or unique selling proposition that gives consumers a compelling reason why they should buy it. And so I think that's probably a good place to jump into the discussion about positioning overall. And I also, maybe I'll pause here for a second as well. I had mentioned to Rachel up front that we'll do some Q&A at the end of the presentation, and so I haven't been checking the chat to see if there's any questions there. And Rachel, if there's anything that I need to do, please jump in. So distinct and valued is important. The last concept before position is brand essence, and that is the consumer benefit that and experience on, and again is connected to your purpose and your promise. Often when people ask me to define what a brand is, I say a brand is your promise. It's your promise to deliver something that is valued by a consumer. And when you figure out your brand essence, you've got the core aspect of your promise. So one example that we could all relate to as a big brand is is Volvo. And so, you know, this is in the world of brands, one of those kind of iconic brands, because it's a brand that is known for safety as a core benefit. And so their promise would be in that area of we'll keep you safe as a brand. Now, you know, and when I talked about the ladders or the, you know, those categories, the automotive category is one that's hyper segmented on its in its own. So you would have so many different car brands and models that you've got kind of a ladder that was devoted to luxury cars, to mainstream cars, sports cars, all of those things. So Volvo certainly would have dimensions of luxury, would have dimensions of style, would have you know, a number of other performance dimensions, but they have successfully been able to retain the safety dimension, despite the fact that every other brand has, you know, been introducing safety technologies over the years. They've been able to kind of maintain the position as the safest of those options. So now I'm going to talk about the 4 components of positioning, and so I'll use some examples to illustrate each of these dimensions. But first of all, the 4 are being very clear on your target market and you know, what is the segment that you're focused on. The second is, what is your frame of reference? So what's the market segment you're in, or the competitive context, or as I mentioned earlier, the ladder, if I was to use the positioning book as a reference point. So so knowing that frame of reference is really important. And so in some cases it will be straightforward. So if you're in the hand sanitizer market, as an example, that's your frame of reference in that context. So what is your particular you know, difference is something, you know, that comes a little further down. So then number 3 is, what is the unique benefit? And so this would be, again, Volvo and safety, you know, as an example of your unique benefit. You know, if you think about Volvo, all the time their engineers would spend on building the safety technology in that car. You know, the imagery that they use, all of the things are connected to that benefit. And then last is the attributes and benefits. So what are those key points of parity with your category competitors, and what are the points of difference that are uniquely yours and that you know, that have value for the consumer? So that's an important exercise to go through as a founder, is to be thinking about, you know, where do I have to stack up relative to my competitors? So if I'm doing collaboration software, what are the things that people most value? So if Slack has defined the channels as a way of organizing all your communications, maybe now having channels is just table stakes, right? But what are the other things that you add into your brand, the points of difference that would make it worth exploring an alternative to something that is already known? So those are the 4 components to be thinking about. So I'll just go through each one. So for the target market, there's a couple of levels that you need to be thinking about. One is, you know, what is your demographic, behavioral, psychographic, even geographic segmentation that you're going to focus on. And then, you know, once you've determined that, you know, start to build your persona. And I'm sure that a number of you already by now have your personas created. So you want to make that as personal as possible, because marketing is, at the end of the day, a human endeavor, right? You're selling something to another person. So so making that as personal or human as possible is important. So a couple of examples to illustrate that. One is, you know, just I'll pick toothpaste as an example. So if you think about the different segments, you know, there are those for whom sensory appeal is really important. So those who seek flavor and product appearance as dimensions. There are those people who may be more oriented toward sociable dimensions. So you know, seeking brightness of their teeth, the whiteness this is where white strips, all those things would come in. Worriers, those who seek decay prevention, and then lastly would be independents. So those who would seek who don't care, they just want low price. So if you think about the pharmacy on the shelf, those dimensions are ones that you can see on the different products, and then in a world of overkill, there's a lot of total now, right, where they're combining everything. But that just gives you an example of how much you can segment a particular category into different behaviors. So I'm going to, before I get into personas, I just want to talk about SWEPT. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to use SWEPT as an example through the rest of the presentation. And so SWEPT is a company that is based at Volta, and they've been around for probably 6-7 years now, and maybe 6 years. They're one of the fastest growing startups at Volta, one of the largest there. And I had the and actually Matt Cooper, who is one of the advisors, is a co-founder of this company. And so what is very interesting, I mean, I had the opportunity to work with this company. They started out as a company that was a residential cleaning company. Then they shifted into commercial cleaning, and then they realized that the IP that they had that had great value was the software that was running this particular app that they had created, and they decided to sell the software as janitorial software for the global janitorial industry. So I had the good fortune of working with them as they transitioned from a residential cleaning company to a commercial cleaning company, and then again when they transitioned from being a commercial cleaning company into selling the software to cleaning companies. So what SWEPT does is they make a really cool janitorial software that, as it says in the headline, makes running your business easy. So this app, which is desktop and phone enabled, certainly the phone is the critical, or the smartphone app is the critical component. What it does is it allows the owner of a cleaning company to be connected to the client and to the cleaner. So, so if you think about the process of cleaning, it's often leaving a note for the cleaner, or hoping that the cleaning is going to be done, as the way it's normally done, and such. What SWEPT has done is it's made it possible for those three players, the client, the cleaner, and the owner, to be connected, and it makes it easy for the client to be able to to record what they need done, if they need supplies replaced, all of those things. If they want to put a photo of an area that needs to be tackled, it allows the cleaner to be able to read that in whatever language they use. It allows them to have clear instructions on what they're supposed to be doing. It actually allows them to check in so that the owner of the cleaning company knows that they're on site, and it has a tracking mechanism there. And it has various other services that the owner of a cleaning company can use as well. Side benefit is actually it helps owners of cleaning companies to win business because of the technology. So they actually win contracts and business. So there's another benefit for owners of cleaning companies. So essentially, I give you that because I'm going to give go through the components of their brand position, just so you have an idea of how this was done. And so starting with their personas, so they would have started with 3 personas. The first was the multi-hat, the second was organized chaos, and the third they called organized growth. Now these personas are like much bigger, full pages. These people, have names, photos, all those things. But essentially, just to boil it down to kind of the essence, the multi-hat is the owner of a cleaning company, multiple roles, a very reactive management style, a small team of 2 or 3 cleaners, and they've been in business maybe 2 or 3 years. So very busy, running their business. The organized chaos group is an owner or manager, multiple people doing various roles. They're poorly organized, very reactive management style, and maybe 5 to 10 plus years in business. So they've just, chaos is their world, very busy. And then last is the organized growth, which could be a manager or owner, well-documented processes and roles, and 5+ years in business. So so the software they've created really helps the multi-hat and organized chaos, and they've sort of focused more in that area. But in this case, what all of these personas really shared was a challenge with trust. You know, their business, like 95% of their business is their cleaners. And if that cleaner doesn't show up at the client's office, then the cleaning doesn't get done. That affects their reputation. It affects their day, because then they've got to figure out, do they go and do the cleaning? How do they bring somebody else in? It's sort of that trust is really hard to build. So so that was, so as we defined the target audience for Swept, we really focused on the fact that it was toward owners of cleaning companies who are trying to get more control over their business. I'll just touch on this quickly. You're all going to have people that are at the various parts on the diffusion of innovation. So some of you will be targeting audiences that are very much innovators or early adopters. Others may be further down that curve. But how you market to them will differ based on, again, that mindset. Like, what do they think? What's the persona? How do they act? How do they behave? And so your marketing strategies will vary accordingly. So that's the first part, your target audience. The second is your frame of reference. So we talked about the ladders in your head. So if you think about, there's so many different categories in your brain that encapsulate different types of information, those different categories and different ladders. So so your frame of reference is that place on the ladder in the mind. So that grouping of like-minded products. And it's, this is where you have, potential for a category reframe or a well-defined new category. So in the case of, I'll use Swept as an example as well. So in this particular case, we looked at, they were, so I guess when I worked with them the second time, one of the challenges that they were running into was they were not closing their sales as much as they would like to. When they'd go to conferences and have the opportunity to talk about the product, they had a lot of interest. But when they'd sort of randomly call, owners of cleaning companies and try to sell them this product or try to engage them in discussion, they get shut down. And one of the reasons was that from a category perspective, they were putting themselves in the communication category. So they were calling themselves an app that allowed for better communication or a communication solution with their cleaners and clients. And so a lot of those owners would shut down, because communication to them was their smartphone, or it was their email or texting, whatever way they currently use to communicate. But if you reframe it as cleaner management or a way to manage your cleaners, then it's a different conversation, and it shifts that interest level from a prospect to be thinking, oh, well, that's curious, so tell me how you're going to do that, right? Because I've never heard of that before. And but it's something that I have to do every day. So by reframing the category, they were able to make improvements in the close rate on their sales. And this is something, obviously, as you can see, this is the website back, this is about 4 years ago when we did this, but it's an example. Like, Swept helps cleaning companies manage cleaners and win clients. And so by, it's sort of that ladder was in the managing cleaners, or the cleaner management ladder. So that would be an example of just, how you think about your context. And then the third is your unique benefit. And so this is where we talked about brand essence, and this is where you build essence into your positioning. It's the single greatest benefit that customers value, the essence of your brand, and it's linked to your value prop. So again, in the context of Swept, connected was the essence that we chose. It this app allowed them to stay connected to their cleaners and be aware of any issues, any problems that were happening in the business instantly, and be able to deal with that immediately without having to make a bunch of phone calls and such. So this really that level of connection was something that was really valuable to their clients. And again, we talked about Volvo, but this would be an example of the essence, or that was built into the core benefit that was built into the Volvo brand. And then lastly, the fourth component is those unique attributes and benefits that support that primary benefit. So if we used Swept again, the support for being able to stay connected to your cleaners is, it's a simple app, gives you up-to-the-minute status of inspections, team members, and problems that may arise. Now, since we did this work, Swept has incorporated even more functionality into their app, and a broader range of ways that they can manage their companies. But this is where we started. So if we kind of bring it all together, there's a format, a brand positioning statement format, and this is not mine. This is the standard packaged goods brand positioning statement format, which is kind of to define who is your target audience, and your brand is the brand of what, clearly state your category. That offers a particular benefit better than any other brand, because, only your brand does what, right? What are the supporting attributes and benefits of your brand? So some examples to show, again, if I pull it all together using Swept as an example, the way that they would, they may be using a slightly different statement now, but the way we had framed it was to owners and managers of cleaning companies looking to get more control over their business. Swept is the cleaner management tool that helps you, keeps you better connected to your team, because our simple app gives you up-to-the-minute status of inspections, team members, and problems that may arise. So, that statement, is not intended to be, a sales message as such, or it's not intended to be advertising copy, but you can see how, the website, the image, the line very much fell out of this positioning statement. It informs the sales messaging. It informs the website. It informs their marketing. So this is when I talk about positioning as kind of the core of a marketing strategy. This is the statement that kind of encapsulates the entire strategy. And so again, there's the messaging, stop letting your cleaning company run your day, right? Swept helps cleaning companies manage cleaners and win clients. I'll bring a couple of others out. I took one out of the vault from Keith's. I worked with Keith's back when 1 in 3 beers consumed in Nova Scotia was a Keith's, and we were just really launching the brand across Canada. And so the brand positioning statement, which wouldn't be that much different today, would be to beer drinkers possessing a spark of Nova Scotian spirit. Keith's is the only beer that brings about the special sense of belonging to Nova Scotia good times wherever you are, while delivering quality brewing credentials and an unrivaled brewing heritage. And Nova Scotia's beer would kind of be the summation of all of that. And so again, you could using that statement, you can imagine the various ads and things you've seen over the years as stemming from this particular positioning statement. And then one that's even bigger this is one that's outside, you know, a global brand, is, you know, for Disney, for families who seek entertainment delight, Disney is the brand of lovable, everybody has a good time magic that delivers happiness and well-being in whatever venue it appears. And their brand essence would be magic. So I see, got a chat message here. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second. So the question is, for my work was swept, how did you figure out that the communications focus wasn't working, but the cleaning management was the thing that would resonate with customers? So great question. So again, I'll just actually read the question. I'm realizing I was probably mumbling as I read that. So it says, for my work was swept, how did we figure out that the communications focus wasn't working, but that cleaning management was the thing that would resonate with customers? And great question. We did consumer research during that time. So again, I was coaching them through this process, and so what we did was prepared a couple of discussion guides, one that we used with existing customers and one that we used with prospects. And for prospects, they were given, at the end of the day, they were given a particular study that they were able to have access to. So there was a bit of incentive to actually participate in this study. So we really only picked like 10 of each category of current customers and prospects. And the nature of the discussion was, you know, asking them about their business. What are the challenges that they face in their business? Like, you know, what is aspects of running a cleaning company? And then after kind of asking them about running their business, what are the challenges? What trends are they seeing? We got into, you know, introducing the app, and then you know, ask questions about what they valued, you know, what the benefits they saw of it were, you know, where they saw value of that inside their company, and so we kind of laddered down as well on terms of value, getting to what they would value most, and so that's how we did that, and it was a great exercise because it really uncovered some really good insights. Okay, the next question is from Tamer, is about, from brand position, how do you differentiate between brand position and value proposition? That's a great question. So value prop is, you know, that I put value proposition and brand essence as kind of the same thing, essentially. It's sort of like if Volvo is about safety, or if Swept is about connected to your cleaners, you know, those are kind of core benefits that that the things that they value, right? And there'd be a couple of components of that value proposition, but your positioning is one that it allows you to find your differentiator in that. So your position is taking that value and building something very clear around it that the customer will understand, and so I think that the hand sanitizer might be an interesting example. So if you know, if we think about what a hand sanitizer is designed to do, it is, from a value perspective, it's probably designed to help make people feel safe, or make people feel that they, you know, that they won't, you know, they won't, you know, germs won't be, or they won't transmit germs, or germs won't be transmitted to them. So there's an element of safety. I'm not sure what the right word would be, but you know, it's sort of like when you think about each different brand, you know, one way of you know, tackling it, if it's something you're introducing for this particular time, you know, if it's a COVID-19 sanitizer, it's, you know, to help people get through COVID-19. Like, that would be a way to position yourself so that it's unique to your brand. It's still giving the value prop or the core value is the same as what some of those other brands would have, but what's unique about yours is some aspect that it's, you know, that you're going to be able to get through COVID-19, or that it has a particular ingredient, or it has something that makes it unique or special relative to the others. So I would say that that's the difference between value prop and position. I'll use another example. I had shown the collaboration software earlier, and this would be another example of illustrating this point. So the question on, you know, relative to that last question. So, you know, if all of these are collaboration software, you know, if you look at all of the websites for these brands, they're all going to say collaboration, right? They're all going to say that they do collaboration. They allow your team to collaborate. And so, you know, if someone is looking for collaboration, here are all the choices that you could have. So there's a certain value of collaboration and a value of productivity that is going to come from all of them. And yet, how do you differentiate all of these? So you know, in those four components that I talked about, you know, the target, the context, the benefit, and those supporting attributes and benefits, Slack has kind of defined, you know, those things, right? It's simple collaboration. You know, its channels are one of its things that really differentiated it, kind of getting rid of email. So it became, you know, one of the top brands. In 2019, they were up to 10 million users on Slack. So what's interesting in terms of competitive strategy is Slack is really big with startups and with small enterprises. And so they've really, so in that mix of considerations, they've really focused on that end of the spectrum, or it's what they're offering is most appealing. Microsoft, in recognizing the growth of Slack and the penetration that they were achieving, really dialed up their marketing with their Microsoft Office clients and really started promoting Teams. So whilst Teams may not be a great platform, if you've already got Office 365 and you've got you know, you've got the basic platform, then adding Teams to that would be kind of a no-brainer. So they have really they've actually got more users than Slack, but they're focused on the corporate market. You know, those would have those licenses to the Microsoft technology, and you know, as a example of positioning, just those levers, the target market lever is something that that both of those brands would choose to, you know, as a way to go to market differently. And then if you look at some of the others, like Trello, you know, they're about lists. You know, they would still have other dimensions that would be the same as the others, but it's sort of lists is their thing. And then if you look at some of the others, they have, you know, again, some are more email based, some are, you know, so each one has something that's a little bit different, but they all really allow collaboration in some way. So this is part of your strategic choice, is you have to look at your category and ask yourself, am I even going to go in this category that's already competitive? You know, am I going to find my own little ladder within this? You know, like maybe it's not collaborative, maybe it's list management. You know, like find your way to either create a new category or qualify this category with what you're doing, and then what are those unique activities that you're going to do, or the services you're going to offer, that are going to make your brand unique and then really special for the customer. So again, in the case of rideshare, you know, that would be another case where the value, you know, that's associated with these are really easy transportation, right? Like simple, getting, you know, one click on your phone to get a car, right? And to get from point A to point B. But but the reality is that, you know, in a competitive market, you know, others are going to emerge. So Uber's gotten criticism for some of their policies, and, you know, drivers, all those different things. So these other brands, you know, are coming with different positions, if you will, and some are broadening their service offering to more services that like Curb, or others are reducing the commission they charge to the drivers. Others are, and Wings, of course, would be more started out as getting you to the airport, you know, so that would be a clear differentiator. But you know, so the value in some of these, you can see where the value is a little bit different, but thinking about, but the value is still pretty consistent, pretty similar between all of these different brands. So being clear as to, you know, I mean, if and I guess I should also clarify that if you have truly unique value, that is awesome. Like that's nirvana. But you also need to find a way to capture your uniqueness. Okay, Wendy, thanks very much for your note. She has another webinar, and I'm realizing I'm running out of time, so sorry about that, everyone. Actually, this is the last slide, so we're good. So if I can summarize all of this, your brand position becomes a summary of your strategy. It guides your marketing activities. It guides product, service experience, price, distribution channels, promotion decisions, and it guides your language for your sales and your marketing as well. So I'm just going to stop the share, and I probably, oh, it's 101. Sorry. So I've gone a little bit longer, and I haven't left time for Q&A, but thankfully a couple of people have sent in their comments. So I don't know if there's extra time. Rachel, I'll sort of turn it back to you.
For sure, yeah. If we still have questions, we can definitely keep going. Otherwise, though, we'll give out your contact info for anyone who is a Startup Zone company. You can book time with Larry. He's one of our in-house specialists now. So you can chat with Aaron, Pat, or I, and they can kind of send you in the right direction there. Otherwise, if you aren't part of the Startup Zone, maybe Larry, if you want to give an email address, any way people can reach you, and just anything else you'd like to say. But otherwise, if there are any questions, now's the time to ask them.
Okay, well, you can reach me at my website is larrymac.ca, and larry@larrymac.ca is how you reach me. That easy. But the guys at Startup Zone will have my contact information as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Larry. This was great.
Thanks very much, Rachel. Thanks everyone for attending. Hope it was helpful, and have a great day.
Thanks, Larry.
Awesome. Thank you.